Gold is holding, but it should be a lot higher. Silver, of course. I mean, it'd be the only commodity in the world, I think, that's at half the value now that it was in 2011. So I remember Jim Rickards, he'd make reference to this regularly. He'd say, it's that final snowflake that lands on the edge of a snow-clad mountain peak that causes the avalanche. My question to you, Bill, is, when do you believe that last snowflake is going to fall and create the avalanche that we know is about to come?
Obviously, I do not have a crystal ball. When you ask me when, what I'll tell you is it's happening before your very eyes. It's been happening. You mentioned inflation. Is a stock market at all-time highs? And when I say all-time highs, if you look at the valuation levels, you look at price to book, PE ratio, price to cash flow, price to anything. We've never seen these levels before. We've never seen until this, the last few years, this era, we've never seen basically 0% or even negative interest rates. That is in itself inflation. And what's happening now is inflation is now spilling over into everyday goods. In past years, the populace was fine with it because they get their 401k statements, they get their broker statements, and wow, I'm rich. Everything's great. But now, because the inflation is spilling over into everyday goods, food, it's up and down the chain. It's food, it's services, it's basic necessities, it's everything. Inflation, the genie has been let out of the bottle. Even though all these years with interest rates going further down and stock markets going higher and higher, that in itself was inflation. Now, if you go back, I think over the last, let's say, year and a half, to the beginning of 2020 when COVID started and the central banks started pumping money supply out. In the US, I think 35% of all dollars outstanding now have been printed in the last 18 months. So you would expect, that money has to find a home somewhere. And what did it do? It went into stock markets. The stock market doubled. Real estate prices have exploded, but they're at levels that are completely unsustainable. So it's not surprising that we've seen this blow up based on what they've done with the money supply, but there's ramifications to what they've done, and that those ramifications are they let the genie out of the bottle, and now they've let the average person see that the system is cracking. When I say cracking, just go to the grocery store. There are goods that you can't find. Trying to say inflation's 5%. No, inflation's more like 10%, 15%. I think John Williams is up at 20%, shadow stats. And that's the way they used to, they used to calculate inflation. John Williams is just mimicking that. And he's got a number that's triple or more than what they've done now because they've completely bastardized the tabulation of inflation. So to tell you when, all I can say is it's happening before your eyes. And I think stock markets, asset markets themselves are the only thing holding the social fabric together, because if prices went back to just where, go back to the day when Donald Trump was elected in 2016. If you had an $18,000 Dow and real estate prices that were 30% lower than they are now, the populace would be going nuts. There'd be riots. There'd be true riots all over the place, all over the world. And the people have been placated because their statements show they're, quote, wealthy.
Bill,
with all the items that we have mentioned that are going up in price, and obviously there's two that is not, but there's an inkling out there, and certainly in the last 2-3 weeks, but we all know that it can change to the drop of a hat. But getting back to gold and silver, we've had an inkling that it's starting to rise. We're starting to see some movement there, but it's way down from where it should be compared to other resources like gold, grains, farm fertilizers, shipping containers. When do you think, is there a time, do you believe that we're at the bottom, and from this point onwards that we may see some good rises in the US prices of gold and silver?
It was just 2 weeks ago that we had the smash, the $1 in a day smash on the COMEX. Understand that in 30 minutes time, $1.6 billion of paper contracts were sold. That represents roughly 10% of global production. There is no $1.6 billion hoard of silver anywhere in the world that could be sold like that. And even if there was, the trader who pushed the button would be unemployed.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information, and it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Marco Stan, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I intend, how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Marco Stan.